Princess Juwu of the Kilnari Empire stood frozen as Lieutenant Park approached. Her 6 iridescent eyes blinked rapidly, catching the light from the high windows of the diplomatic chamber. The human soldier moved with confidence across the polished floor, his uniform neat and pressed for this important first meeting between their species. Lieutenant Park smiled warmly. He was shorter than the average Kilnari, but walked with the straight-backed posture of a trained soldier. His dark eyes showed no fear, only curiosity as he approached the royal alien. Princess Juwu, it is an honor to meet you. I am Lieutenant Park of the Earth Alliance, he said, extending his right hand forward. The princess stared at the outstretched hand. The small gathering of diplomats and officials from both sides watched in silence. Juwu's royal attendants shifted nervously behind her. The princess's inner eyelids fluttered, a sign of distress that humans couldn't recognize, but that made the other Kilnari in the room tense up. "Is something wrong?" whispered one human diplomat to his Kilnari counterpart. The alien diplomat said nothing, her own eyes wide with shock at what was unfolding. Princess Juwu finally moved. Her 6-fingered hand with its translucent skin, showing the blue fluid flowing beneath, reached out slowly. The room seemed to hold its collective breath. When her fingers touched Park's hand, a small gasp escaped from several Kilnari observers. The touch lasted only 3 seconds. The princess withdrew her hand quickly, her skin changing from its normal pale blue to a deeper shade of indigo around where the contact had happened. Princess Juwu started, her voice musical but strained. "I must retire. We will continue this meeting tomorrow." Before anyone could object, the princess turned and swept from the room, her flowing robes of silver and blue trailing behind her. Her 4 attendants hurried after her, exchanging worried glances. Lieutenant Park looked confused. "Did I do something wrong?" he asked the room. No one answered directly. The meeting broke up in awkward silence, with the Kilnari delegation leaving first, followed by the confused humans. In her private chambers, Princess Juwu was already removing her ceremonial robes with frantic movements. Her attendants rushed to help. "Prepare the purification chamber," she ordered. "Level 4. The chief attendant, Minho, looked alarmed. "Level 4, Your Highness. That's reserved 4. "I know what it's reserved for," Juwu snapped, her voice higher than normal. "Do as I command." The attendants moved quickly. Within minutes, they had prepared the large circular chamber that dominated the princess's private bathing area. Steaming water infused with purifying minerals filled the pool. Special lights that killed foreign organisms glowed purple above the water. Juwu stepped into the pool and submerged herself completely. When she surfaced, her attendants approached with cleansing tools, special brushes and sponges made from rare sea creatures from the Kilnari homeworld. "The right hand first," Juwu said. "Be thorough." Minho began scrubbing the princess's hand where the human had touched her. The blue coloration had spread further up her arm. "Your Highness, this reaction is unusual," Minho said carefully. "Did the human harm you?" "Not intentionally," Juwu replied, wincing as the brush removed the top layer of her sensitive skin. "Their customs are different, but my body reacted strongly to the contact. I feel strange." Another attendant approached with a scanner. "Your hormone levels are fluctuating, Your Highness, similar to the patterns seen during." "I know," Juwu cut her off. "Keep scrubbing." The purification ritual continued for over an hour. The princess insisted on 3 complete water changes and the application of special ointments to her hand and arm. Meanwhile, on Galactic Reddit, a new post appeared in the r/xeno_politics subforum. Breaking. First human Kilnari diplomatic meeting ends in possible incident. Princess Juwu retreats for emergency purification after human contact. The post came from user Royal Observer, known for insider information about the Kilnari court. It included a grainy image of the princess's hand turning dark blue after touching the human lieutenant. The meeting adjourned early, the post continued. Princess Ju immediately retreated to her chambers and initiated a level 4 purification ritual. Her attendants seemed concerned by the intensity of her reaction. Is this standard protocol after human contact? Within minutes, the post had hundreds of comments. Stargazer 775. Wait, they told Chi-Chi-Ti. Isn't physical contact taboo for culinary royalty? Xeno expert. Level 4 purification is used after intimate contact or biological contamination. This is serious. Human friend 2. Classic humans, always touching everything. Read the room, people. Blue Star. My cousin works in the palace. Says the princess's skin turned completely blue where they touched. Never seen before with other species. The post quickly spread beyond our /Xeno_politics to the main galactic feed. Within an hour, it had thousands of upvotes and was trending across 3 sectors. Lieutenant Park returned to the human quarters feeling confused. The meeting had barely started before it ended abruptly. He approached Commander Lee, his superior officer. I don't understand what happened, Park said. I followed protocol exactly as briefed. Commander Lee frowned. Something about the handshake seemed to upset her. Did our cultural team miss something important? The human cultural attaché, Dr. Kim, rushed into the room looking worried. We may have a situation, she said, holding up her tablet. Look at Galactic Reddit. They gathered around to read the viral post about the princess's purification ritual. This doesn't look good, Commander Lee said. If physical contact is offensive to them. It's more complicated than that. Dr. Kim interrupted. Based on these comments from culinary users, the handshake might have triggered something physiological, not just cultural. They're saying her body reacted as if it was intimate contact. Lieutenant Park's face flushed red. You mean I accidentally? You might have accidentally engaged in what their culture considers an intimate act. Yes, Dr. Kim confirmed. And now the whole galactic internet is talking about it. Lieutenant Park sat down heavily. So much for first impressions, he muttered. Outside the human quarters, curious onlookers had already gathered, some taking pictures to share on their own social media accounts. The first official contact between humans and the culinary royal family had become an interstellar sensation for all the wrong reasons. Lieutenant Park stared at his tablet screen in horror. The galactic Reddit post had now reached over 50,000 upvotes and spawned countless memes across the interstellar net. He scrolled through the feed with growing dismay. Princess Scrubs for hours after human handshake was now the most trending topic across 3 sectors of civilized space. The comments section had exploded into a mix of jokes, xenobiology debates, and diplomatic concerns. Cosmouser 44. Humans are basically walking biohazards to most species law. Culinary Royal Watcher. This is a grave insult to Her Highness. The human should be punished. Xenobiologist. Actually, this reaction might be due to unique chemical compounds in human skin oils that trigger culinary physiological responses. Men the Queen. Image of Princess Ju with exaggerated scrubbing motions and caption. When you shake hands with a human and remember where their hands have been. Park set down his tablet and rubbed his tired eyes. It was nearly midnight according to the ship's time. He had spent hours reading about culinary customs, trying to understand what had happened. The official briefing had mentioned nothing about handshakes being problematic. A knock at his door pulled him from his thoughts. Commander Hyun entered without waiting for a response. You're still up, the commander said. Good. We have a situation. I know, Park said, holding up his tablet. Commander Hyun, I think I've created an interstellar incident. He showed his superior the thread with its thousands of comments. Commander Hyun's face remained stern as he scanned the screen. This is worse than I thought. The Culinary High Council has sent 3 official communications in the last hour. The diplomatic team is in emergency meetings. Sir, I followed protocol exactly as I was briefed, Park said. There was nothing in our guidelines about handshakes being inappropriate. The cultural team missed it, Hyun said. Apparently, for culinary royalty, physical touch is reserved for family members or intimate partners. Park felt his face growing hot. You mean You essentially made an improper advance to their princess. Yes, Hyun confirmed. At least that's how their culture interprets it. What happens now? Park asked. You've been requested to make a formal apology, Hyun said. The ceremony will take place tomorrow. Until then, you're confined to quarters. After the commander left, Park couldn't sleep. He kept scrolling through the comments, trying to understand the culinary perspective better. Around 3 a.m., a new development caught his attention. In the royal palace, Princess Ju sat wrapped in recovery robes, her skin still sensitive from the intense purification. Her 6 eyes were fixed on the screen before her, widening in horror at each new comment. They've made me into a joke, she whispered to her chief attendant Minho. My sacred purification ritual, discussed like common entertainment. Your Highness, the Royal Communications Office has demanded the removal of all content related to the incident, Minho said. The human internet authorities are being uncooperative. Uncooperative? Do they not respect our royal authority? Ju asked. Minho looked uncomfortable. The humans claim something called freedom of speech prevents them from censoring their networks. Juwoo's skin darkened with emotion. And what of my freedom from humiliation? Look at this. She pointed to a crude animation someone had created of her scrubbing herself while crying blue tears. A soft chime indicated a new message. Minho checked the royal communications device. The Human Diplomatic Corps requests an audience, he said. They wish to discuss damage control strategies. I will not meet with them, Juwoo said firmly. Not after this public mockery. Your Highness, the High Council recommends cooperation. This incident threatens the trade negotiations. Juwoo turned away. I am aware of my duties. Tell them I will consider meeting their representatives, but not that soldier. Not yet. The human embassy was in chaos. Emergency lights flashed as diplomats rushed between conference rooms. Ambassador Kim stood at the center of the largest room, surrounded by cultural experts and communication specialists. The culinary embassy has formally demanded that all slanderous content be removed from Galactic Reddit and associated platforms, she announced. They're threatening to withdraw from negotiations if their demands aren't met. We can't control Galactic Reddit, a tech specialist pointed out. It's a decentralized platform. Even if Earth authorities wanted to remove content, they technically can't. Then find another solution, Ambassador Kim ordered. This incident is threatening years of careful diplomatic work. A young cultural analyst raised her hand. What if we turn this into an educational opportunity? Instead of trying to hide the content, we could work with the culinary to explain the cultural differences. The princess would never agree, said Dr. Jin, the lead xenoanthropologist. In their culture, discussing purification rituals publicly is deeply taboo. It would be like humans broadcasting their most private bathroom activities. We need Lieutenant Park to make a formal apology, Ambassador Kim decided. Full ceremonial regalia, following culinary traditions exactly. No room for error this time. Back in his quarters, Lieutenant Park had made a discovery. Among the thousands of comments, he found posts from actual culinary citizens that painted a different picture than the official position. Kill citizen. Everyone's assuming the princess was disgusted, but that's not what a level 4 purification means. It's what we do after intimate chemical exchange. The human probably triggered pheromone receptors. True kill facts. Royal purification after alien contact is standard protocol. The intensity suggests biocompatibility, not revulsion. Our history has examples of similar reactions leading to diplomatic marriages. Park sat up straight. If these comments were accurate, the situation was even more complex than anyone realized. He wasn't just being viewed as rude. He had accidentally triggered a biological response in the princess that was normally reserved for potential mates. He quickly composed a message to Commander Hyun, attaching the relevant comments. "Sir, I think there's been a serious misunderstanding of the situation. The princess wasn't offended. Her body was responding to human biochemistry in an unexpected way." As he waited for a response, he noticed a private message notification. The sender's username made him catch his breath. Royal Blue Observer. The message was brief. "Lieutenant Park, I am a close associate of Princess Juu. She wishes to speak with you privately, away from official channels. This situation is more complex than it appears. Will you agree to a confidential meeting?" Park stared at the message for a long moment. This could be a trap, or it could be a chance to resolve the situation. Either way, the fate of human culinary relations might depend on his answer. With a deep breath, he typed his response. "I agree." Outside his window, the news feeds of 3 planetary systems continued to flash with updates about the handshake incident. In the culinary royal palace, Princess Juu watched her private communication channel, waiting for the human's reply. Lieutenant Park adjusted his formal uniform nervously as he waited in the small garden chamber of the culinary embassy. After the secret message, he had also sent an official request. "I request a private audience to make amends." To his surprise, Princess Juu had agreed through formal channels as well. The garden room was designed to accommodate various species. Small floating orbs provided light that mimicked the culinary homeworld's twin suns. Plants with blue and purple leaves created a peaceful atmosphere. A subtle mist in the air helped culinary visitors maintain their skin moisture. When the door finally opened, Princess Juu entered alone, a break from protocol that surprised Park. She wore simpler robes than at their first meeting, though still clearly royal in design. "Your Highness," Park said, bowing deeply in the culinary style he had studied intensely over the past day. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me." "Lieutenant," she acknowledged, her musical voice measured. "This situation has become complicated. I deeply regret causing any offense," Park began. "In human culture, extending a hand is our most basic greeting. It shows we carry no weapons and come in peace." "No weapons." Juu's inner eyelids blinked with interest. "That is the origin." "Yes. It dates back thousands of years," Park explained. "When humans first formed tribes, showing empty hands was how strangers proved they weren't dangerous." "Fascinating," Juu said, moving closer. "On my world, touching hands is reserved for those who share close bonds, family members or potential mates. The skin of our hands contains our most sensitive receptors." Park's face flushed. "I had no idea. Our briefing materials were clearly inadequate." "Your apology is accepted," Juu said, "but there is something you should understand about my reaction." She hesitated, her skin changing color slightly, a pale blue flush that Park now recognized as the culinary equivalent of a blush. "In our culture, the cleansing ritual is not from disgust," Juu explained. "It's to reset our biochemical receptors after intimate contact. Your pheromones triggered unexpected responses in my biology." Park tried to keep his expression neutral despite his surprise. "My pheromones affected you?" "Yes. Human biochemistry is surprisingly compatible with culinary physiology," she said. "When our skin touched, my receptors absorbed compounds from your skin that triggered reactions." "What kind of reactions?" Park asked cautiously. Juu's inner eyelids fluttered. "Similar to what happens when culinary meet potential mates. Elevated heart rate, hormone release, sensory heightening. The purification ritual was necessary to return my body to normal function." "I see," Park said, trying to process this information. "So the viral posts about you being disgusted by humans are completely incorrect," Juu finished. "If anything, my body found your biochemistry too compatible. That's why I needed the level 4 purification." The tension in the room shifted. What had begun as an awkward apology was becoming something else entirely. "May I ask a personal question, Your Highness?" Park ventured. "You may. What is your field of study? Before becoming involved in diplomacy, I mean." Ju seemed surprised by the change in topic. "I specialized in xenobiology at the Royal Science Academy. My research focused on cross-species biochemical interactions." Park couldn't help but smile. "I studied xenobiology at Earth Alliance Academy before joining the military. My thesis was on biochemical communication between different species." "Truly?" Juwoo's 6 eyes widened with genuine interest. "What was your specific focus?" "How pheromones and other chemical signals can create unintended communication between species that evolved separately," Park said. "Exactly what happened between us, actually." For the first time, Princess Juwoo made a sound that Park's translator identified as laughter, a light, musical trill. "Perhaps the universe has a sense of humor," she said, bringing together two xenobiologists through the very phenomenon they study. The scheduled 30-minute meeting extended as they discovered their mutual scientific interests. Juwoo explained culinary biochemistry, while Park shared human research on cross-species communication. "Your hand receptors," Park said, "they're similar to what we call chemoreceptors in certain Earth species. They literally taste the biochemistry of what they touch." "Yes," Juwoo confirmed. "It's how our ancestors chose compatible mates. The receptors analyze genetic compatibility, health, and other factors through skin contact. And my hand gave your receptors a positive reading?" Park asked, trying to understand. Juwoo's skin darkened slightly. "Extremely positive. It's never happened with any other non-culinary species we've encountered. That's why the reaction was so strong." "This could be groundbreaking for interspecies medical research," Park said excitedly. "The biochemical compatibility between our species could lead to new treatments, medicines." "Precisely my thinking," Juwoo agreed. "This embarrassing incident could become a scientific opportunity." They continued talking, moving from pure science to personal experiences. Juwoo described her struggles as both a scientist and royal figure. Park shared stories of growing up on a frontier colony before joining the Earth Alliance. 3 hours passed before a gentle chime reminded them of the time. "I've kept you far too long," Park said, standing to leave. "It was my choice," Juwoo said. "This conversation has been most educational. Would you consider continuing our discussion? From a scientific perspective, of course," Park added quickly. "I would like that," Juwoo said. "Perhaps we could even address the galactic Reddit situation together. A joint statement explaining the scientific reality behind what happened." "That's an excellent idea," Park agreed. "It would correct the misinformation and possibly advance understanding between our species." As they walked toward the door, Park was careful to maintain proper distance. "Lieutenant Park," Juwoo said before he left, "in the interest of science, I'm curious, would you be willing to participate in a controlled experiment to better understand the biochemical interaction between our species?" "What kind of experiment?" Park asked. "A properly monitored, gradual exposure study," she explained, "with appropriate precautions and scientific protocols." Park smiled. "Your Highness, I would be honored to contribute to cross-species understanding." As he left the embassy, Park realized the diplomatic incident had transformed into something unexpected, a connection based on mutual curiosity and shared intellectual passion. Meanwhile, on galactic Reddit, users were already speculating about the unusually long private meeting between the human lieutenant and the alien princess. A new trend was beginning to take shape, with the hashtag chemical attraction gaining popularity by the minute. Lieutenant Park stared at his screen, reviewing the draft one final time. Beside him, Princess Juwoo leaned in, her 6 iridescent eyes scanning the text carefully. They sat in a neutral meeting room, their tablets synchronized as they worked on their joint statement for galactic Reddit. "Do you think this explains it clearly enough?" Park asked, highlighting a paragraph about biochemical compatibility. Perhaps we should add a simple diagram, Ju suggested. Many species are visual learners. Park nodded and quickly sketched a basic illustration showing human skin compounds and culinary receptors. For the past 3 days, they had worked together to craft the perfect educational post, one that would correct misconceptions while advancing cultural understanding. "Ready to post?" Park asked, his finger hovering over the submit button. Juwoo's skin rippled with blue patterns, a sign of nervous excitement. "Yes, let the galaxy learn something useful from our incident." Park pressed submit. Their joint post appeared immediately on Galactic Reddit. Understanding precedes diplomacy. What appeared as offense was simply biological necessity. The handshake that launched 1,000 memes was neither insult nor romantic advance, merely two species learning each other's ways. The post continued with clear explanations of both human greeting customs and culinary biochemistry, complete with simple diagrams and easy-to-understand comparisons. They explained how the purification ritual was standard procedure after any significant biochemical exchange, not a sign of disgust. The reaction of Princess Juwoo's systems to human biochemistry suggests our species are unusually compatible on a molecular level, a scientific discovery of potential medical significance disguised as a diplomatic mishap, they wrote. Within minutes, the upvotes began pouring in. Comments flooded the thread. "Science fan, this is fascinating. I had no idea our species were so compatible." Diplomatic Corps. This should be required reading for all interspecies representatives. Xenobiology_student. The diagrams make it so clear. I finally understand why the purification was necessary. In the embassy's communication center, Ambassador Kim watched the response with amazement. "They've turned a potential diplomatic disaster into a teaching moment," she said to Commander Hyun. "The Culinary High Council is actually pleased with the outcome." "Lieutenant Park has a talent for connecting across cultures," Hyun observed, "and the princess seems equally skilled." "We should formalize this somehow," the ambassador mused. "Perhaps a cultural exchange program." Back in the meeting room, Park and Juwoo watched as their post became the fastest-growing thread in Galactic Reddit history. "I think we've made a difference," Park said, smiling. "Indeed," Juwoo agreed. "Though I admit I find some of the memes rather amusing now that the truth is known." She pulled up one image showing cartoon versions of them touching hands with comic-style explosion effects and the caption, "When chemistry is too good." Park laughed. Amazing how quickly the narrative changed. "Speaking of change," Juwoo said, "the High Council has approved my proposal for a formal human culinary cultural exchange program. Would you consider serving as the human liaison?" Park's eyes widened. "Me? But I'm just a lieutenant." "You're also a xenobiologist who has demonstrated remarkable cultural sensitivity," Juwoo pointed out, "and we work well together." "I would be honored," Park said, "though I'll need approval from my superiors." "Already requested and granted," Juwoo said with a flicker of her inner eyelids, the culinary equivalent of a wink. "The program begins next month." 2 months later, the Great Hall of Unity on the neutral space station, Harmony, was filled with diplomats from 27 species. At the center of the gathering stood Lieutenant Park and Princess Juwoo, now both serving as cultural exchange ambassadors. The crowd fell silent as they prepared to demonstrate the new greeting protocol they had developed, one that respected both human and culinary customs while avoiding biochemical complications. Park moved first, performing a perfect culinary bow, his right hand placed over his heart in the traditional gesture of respect. Then Juwoo surprised the audience by executing a crisp human military salute, her 6 eyes bright with confidence. The hall erupted in applause. Many diplomats had arrived skeptical about this program born from an embarrassing incident. Now they witnessed its success firsthand. The first cohort of cultural exchange students will begin their studies next week, Juwoo announced to the gathered dignitaries. 50 humans and 50 culinary, learning together about our respective worlds. Our initial mistake has led to deeper understanding, Park added. We hope other species will join this program in the coming cycles. After the formal ceremony, Park and Ju found a quiet moment in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. I received the latest research results, Ju said, pulling up a chart on her tablet. The medical applications of our biochemical compatibility are exceeding expectations. 3 new treatments for cross-species infections are already in development. All because of an awkward handshake, Park said, shaking his head in amazement. Science often advances through accidents, Ju reminded him. Though I admit, this was a particularly public accident. They shared a laugh, comfortable now in each other's presence after months of working together. Their initial embarrassment had transformed into genuine friendship and professional respect. On a screen nearby, a news feed displayed the latest trending post on Galactic Reddit. From scandal to standard, how human culinary relations evolved from handshake to harmony. The post, by user Royal Observer, had already gathered thousands of upvotes. Your friend is at it again, Park noted, gesturing toward the screen. Minho enjoys documenting history as it happens, Ju said with a musical laugh, though he's more careful about what he shares these days. The next chapter should be interesting, Park said. I hear the Zoltarian Empire is interested in joining our exchange program. Their biochemistry is even more complex than ours. One step at a time, Lieutenant, Ju said, her skin rippling with amusement patterns. We still have much to learn about each other first. As they turned back to the stars, a small group of diplomats observed them from across the deck. Remarkable, whispered the Centaurian ambassador. 2 months ago, they caused an interstellar incident. Now they're revolutionizing cross-species relations. I heard they're developing a universal greeting protocol that works for all known sentient species, added the Proximan delegate. More importantly, said the elder of Tau Ceti, they've shown that mistakes can become opportunities when approached with wisdom and humor. Outside the station, ships from dozens of worlds arrived daily, bringing curious visitors eager to learn about the cultural exchange program that had begun with an embarrassing viral post and grown into one of the most successful diplomatic initiatives in recent galactic history. And somewhere in the digital realm of Galactic Reddit, the original handshake post remained, now labeled with a special tag. Historic, the post that changed interspecies relations forever. RetriClaude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.